Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. We are back, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be here tonight. Some of you may be aware that people send me messages from time to time asking me to cover specific cases or stories, and this one has been on my list for quite some time, and that would be the Ariel school phenomenon. For those unaware, it is an amazing case because it involves many different witnesses. Now, granted, most of them were children at the time, but it also includes a very prestigious Harvard professor of psychology who interviewed the children. Many stories fall apart over time under the least little bit of scrutiny, but this one has stood the test of time. It has become an enduring mystery. What is it that a whole classroom or school full of children saw? The impact that it has had on their lives is substantial, and their stories never changed. And interestingly, to me, a hallmark of whether a story is true or not is to follow the money. But when you follow the money in this case, you find that though people have been included in documentaries and things like that, and television shows and appearances, you just don't see the cash in, the cash grab with this case. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's a credible one. There is an excellent documentary, The Ariel Phenomenon, and many of you asked me to review that, and separately, many of you asked me to discuss this case. So I decided the best thing to do is to not just include my opinions here. So we've brought in a couple of good friends here from that one time I was abducted by aliens. Now, I'm not sure why, but we're probably, people are busy, but we only got 2 of the 3 crystal hippie bitches, but that's okay. Jamie is probably hunting for crystals in a cave somewhere or putting patchouli oil on, crystal hippie bitch that she is. So we do have Brianna, though, is here. Welcome, Brianna.
Hi, I wore that shirt for you.
Some crystal hippie bitches. Oh, that is so awesome. You actually got shirts made that says crystal hippie bitches. Oh, I'm going to buy one. I love that.
No, we'll send it to you. Just send us your P.O. box, wherever you want. We'll send it to you.
I could be a crystal hippie bitch. Where's Jamie? Is she she's like hunting for crystals in a cave or
you know what? I'll be 100% honest. I don't think anyone invited her.
Oh, well, that's my fault then. Sorry. Well, that could be why she's not here. Now I gotta find her and send her the link so I don't feel like a dumbass. Thanks very much. Yeah. Well, and we also have your partner in crime, Kari, is here, who's very familiar with the case. And these guys are going to make me look like slouches because I didn't know it, but apparently we were all supposed to make slides in a presentation, right?
I did. Yeah.
5 minutes before showtime, I get told that they've got slides and I've got my charming personality and not much more. But I do have some bullet points. We'll be okay. We're going to go through this. All right, we'll bring in Kari now.
Oh, hi. You remembered I was back there. Hello.
Yes.
I'm here with my charming personality.
Yes.
And it is just another day in ufology. How are we doing, everybody?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, that's kind of the way it's been. Another job in ufology. Another day.
Another day.
Yeah. I saw somebody mention good job. I don't know what it's. Sweet Caroline. She rushed my premiere earlier, and I decided that Sweet Caroline, who's always in her live chats, channel member, big supporter, Brianna, she's one of those women that just goes, just hurry up and finish, because she couldn't wait through the countdown of my premiere. She was so impatient.
I love it.
And then she confirmed that she's indeed one of those women that just says, hurry up and finish. Just get off me.
That just could be so awkward sometimes.
Yeah. I get that a lot, I guess.
Just hurry up.
All right, now back to the case.
Yeah.
The case. So besides the movie, were you guys aware of this case previous to it?
Yeah.
What are you doing over there?
Sorry, that was a cat.
Okay.
It's stinky.
We might have a cricket tonight too, so it's okay.
Well, it's okay.
So the case, were you aware of it before the documentary?
Yes, sir. I was
Absolutely.
aware of it before.
As I was as well.
So I kind of heard about it, like, I heard about it in books, and then I think I saw a BBC thing on it like 10 years ago. But then the main place I really saw, like, where they went there and stuff was the James Fox documentary, where like the last like third of it was about the Ariel school phenomenon. I thought that was really endearing. I thought that was a really endearing look at it. But like this documentary that we're reviewing tonight was way more in depth. So should we start looking at slides? Should we do the slides and go through the notes?
Well,
it's up to you guys if you want.
I did have the trailer. If you want to sit through that, that's only that's like 3 minutes long. It's a long trailer.
We can watch the trailer. Yeah,
we can do that. But you know what I always love about trailers, though, that they copyright claim you, and it seems so stupid to me. Like, don't you want to sell your movie? It's a trailer. Like, not all of them. It's free advertisement. Some of them do that. So, we'll show this.
Flying object
was a bright radiant light. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was the absence of noise I didn't like.
People from all over Zimbabwe were phoning the BBC to say seeing something weird.
There were 3 of us that saw it. It's myself, the co-pilot, and the pilot in the other aircraft.
No wings, no nothing. Shiny over thing. Ariel School, 19th September 94. Could you tell me what you saw on Friday?
The silver thing in amongst this clump of trees.
We saw this black figure running.
His face was like this, and his eyes were down here.
I just thought it was some kind of alien from a different planet.
When you looked at those children, they were absolutely credible. And whereabouts was it?
In the trees over there.
There was a big group of kids pointing and making a noise and shouting and screaming.
The panic spread. Am I safe or am I not safe?
And he's a Harvard psychiatrist.
Meet Dr. John Mack, a believer in aliens from outer space.
We came away convinced that an extraordinary event occurred here.
I think they want people to know that we're actually making harm on this world.
How did that get communicated to you?
It came through my head.
Somehow there was a message about pollution from the way he was staring?
Yes.
I was just a hard-ass journalist. I could handle war zones, but I could not handle this UFO thing.
I mean, I never felt this could derail my career.
The dean wanted to know, what is he doing?
Angels, yes. Extraterrestrials, no.
John is lost at this time.
This journey is literally to pick up the pieces and put them back together.
Oh my gosh.
I was right on the logs when it actually happened.
We are the ones who drew those funny pictures.
Something that I'll never ever forget.
I've drawn this again.
But I usually kept it quiet.
People think you're crazy.
My husband doesn't even know about it.
You feel so alone in society.
Why is it that we tend to want to shrink this powerful phenomenon to our notions of reality rather than being able to stretch ourselves to expand what we know and to admit that we don't know?
Would you like to see him again?
Yes.
And if you saw him again, what would you do?
I'll ask him some questions.
What would you like to ask him?
I'll ask him what is he doing on Earth and what does he want with us.
Ooh. Was that the whole movie? I feel like we...
that's a lot of the best.
We can all go home now.
A lot of the best parts of it. Yeah, that was a long trailer.
Yeah. The end of that trailer was the end of the movie.
Really? Oh, that's
that final quote.
That's some. I got to take a note when I make a documentary to use the trailer at the end. You'll get an extra 3 minutes out of your movie.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But
it's like a wrap-up.
One of the things spooky that bothered me is that 4-3 16 Kari spooky the 4-3 16-9 transitions. I know this is stupid, but for some reason this bothered me. You know, for those that don't know, television used to be 4-3 perspective.
Okay.
And so what they did throughout this entire film is every time it was the old footage, it was the squeezed 4-3. And then when it was modern footage, it was the regular filled the whole screen. And I don't know why, but this annoyed the crap out of me because it kept flipping back and forth between these things. Maybe it's because I'm visually impaired. I don't know. Like, that's
maybe
it has nothing to do with the case, but that's something that bothered me.
I don't know, it could just be a personal preference thing of aspect ratio.
Yeah, maybe. But as far as the film itself, I thought it was well put together and well sourced, right?
I thought so too.
They did a great job.
Yeah, but I think that Kari and I were both felt. I'll let you speak for yourself, Kari. But I felt for me that it definitely kept my attention for at least, like, I don't know, maybe the first 45 minutes or whatever, and then after that, I was bored out of my mind.
We were going to do that anyway.
There's a link in the description of every single video on this channel.
Yeah, every single video on this channel we pumped here. If you guys give me a like a commercial bumper, I'll play it every show. I don't care.
Cool.
We have a bumper. We should make one.
I'm not like other show hosts that throw them out of their Facebook.
Do you like aliens? Do you like learning? Come to that one time I was abducted by aliens.
Yeah, but the link really is in the description, and you should go over there and support them. That would be good.
George Norrie.
What did you think of the credibility of the children? Because I found them to be credible both in the old interviews and in the sort of updates. Because for those unaware, in the film, they showed the original children being interviewed and what they said. And then several of those children, they were able to track down and include in the film. And they sort of got an update from them of what had been, you know, their experience. Had their opinions changed of what they saw, and all of them were pretty dead on. No, that's what I saw. I saw what appeared to be otherworldly creature, you know. I thought they were incredibly credible, especially because, and I could be mistaken, but I haven't been able to find any of them really trying to cash in on the story.
You're not going to. I mean, I think people assume that when you do a documentary that everyone's getting paid to do it, even the producers. And I, just from my own experience, no one's getting paid. A lot of the times it's the producers and everyone in whatever entertainment production that they're using. They are usually working overtime, like to the bone, on a really small budget. And I can't imagine that millions of people are going out and buying the film. But I think it's awesome that we can compare who these people were to how they are now, and to see, I feel like the documentary was really trying to highlight the emotional implications of seeing something that is so out of this world, especially from a young age, like how that carries down into your life.
Thank you, sweet Caroline. Even though she probably wants me to hurry up and finish reading her super chat. Money, 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 money. Praise the cash. Thank you, sweet Caroline. Thank you, UFO John Doe and Lord Ludacris as well. I am also very intrigued by this notion that they were somehow telepathically communicated and all got this message that we're destroying the Earth and that we need to change course or something like that. That's weird to me that they would all get these images of pollution and, you know, devastation on the Earth and some sort of message that we have to improve the way we treat our planet.
And that's not really off from a lot of abductee stories.
Yeah.
I mean, we could name countless abductees that all kind of say the same thing. Whether it was done differently, like if they're taken to a room and they have to watch it through a screen over and over again, you know, like the apocalypse or what the world's going to look like. But it doesn't seem to be a new notion that ETs are pushing on to people.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
At what point was this telepathic message introduced into the story? Was it in the first? Is it in the first interviews, or was it after?
It was in the first. It was in the first interviews, but it was in the first interviews.
Cynthia Hines turned up.
No, there's the footage of John Mack talking to them. It's in the trailer as well, where he
right, but that wasn't the first interview. The very first interview was a BBC guy who turned up with a camera.
Yeah, that I don't know.
That is for me the only kind of untampered with testimony, because everything after that was after the MUFON investigator turned up, and then John Mack turns up, and these kids have no clue what the fuck is going on. And to have the initial contact with just a guy with a camera going, "Hey, what did you see?" and they're all stood in a group telling the story, that feels way more carries way more weight with me in terms of its honesty to the later footage where they're obviously all on edge and going through this process of understanding what's going on. And I just wonder at what point in that process was this telepathic message introduced into the timeline, because surely
I'm not aware.
I don't know if
That's
that, I don't think that was in the initial
question.
interviews.
And
Yeah, but you also have to remember that John Mack is sort of a trained psychiatrist, so it would be natural that he's going to get more detail out of the children than some journalist would. Maybe he seemed to be going in like very gentle and like trying to.
His questions
he's in
seem quite leading.
But not
I
necessarily,
got questions
Kari.
about his questions.
I think he's trying to get it out, like whether or not this could be looked at leading. I think he just took what they would say and then like tried to get them to finish the sentence. Yes, in time, especially with children, I'm sure that they could kind of just put things together that maybe they didn't mean. But I think in the initial interviews with just a cameraman asking straight questions, and they didn't really have any time to, I think, sit with what had happened. And then you bring a psychologist in with you, and he knows how to ask questions to get you to think deeper. And it could also be the time, like maybe they, I'm thinking dreams.
Well, it was like months later when John Mack turned up.
Right.
So they've had time, and all the parents, there was a whole reaction. How did we go from 60 witnesses down to, is it 12 that are kind of mainly featured?
Thank you. John Doe's mentioned
getting smaller and smaller.
The BBC showed up on Monday. The incident happened on Friday. The one problem that I have with John Mack's involvement is that John Mack was already predisposed. He was already deep into the alien abduction interviews. He was interviewing like all these different alien abduction victims and writing about alien abduction. I would have preferred, if they were going to bring in a psychologist, that they would have brought in somebody not related to the whole UFO or aliens thing. Wouldn't that have been
it's hard
better?
though.
I think so. But would it have garnered as much attention as it did?
No, probably not. No. And maybe they wanted somebody with an open mind and the expertise, but I think that he kind of heard about it and then just flew right over there to start interviewing the children. It wasn't like they asked him to come there and interview the children. What
do you think? I was thinking about it when I was watching it. Like, how did John Mack hear about it? And the key in that situation, I think, is Cynthia Hine being this was it the African coordinator for MUFON. I think she's back channeled somewhere to get a message to people who might be interested in the States, and there we go.
There's just so many psychologists out there that don't consider this a possibility. So I think you'll have two different people, kind of no matter what, you're not going to win. If they would have brought in someone that didn't have any background at all with people that have seen these things or don't even believe it, they might not ask the same questions. And I think that John was, although he had already moved over into this as his new kind of field, he was still the guy that was very academic and then kind of dipped his toes into more of the fringe aspects.
Okay.
Yeah,
someone
and he sure
answered the question.
He sure paid for it. I think he was very brave. I think he was very brave to even entertain that this whole thing, because he's a very serious academic, well-respected Harvard psychiatrist, and then the next thing you know, he's involved in all this alien stuff, and Harvard literally tried to throw him out of the school, I think, but he had some kind of inquiry board, and they really kind of pressured him to leave. And I think, interestingly, Kari, who is Lou Elizondo's lawyer?
Danny Sheehan.
Danny Sheehan was his lawyer.
He's still with him? Oh, yeah, he was, because he was also in the documentary.
Who?
Yeah, Daniel Sheehan
Daniel
was his
Sheehan.
lawyer, I think,
Who?
when Harvard kind of sort of attacked him for studying aliens and alien abduction. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly. And they kind of like had to back down because he had such a well-known, prestigious lawyer in the form of Sheehan, who was like wasn't going to back down. He's not, you know, he's allowed to study whatever he wants there. He had tenure, and you know, at some point they can't really interfere with your research, you know. But I don't think Harvard liked the headlines like Harvard professor and aliens, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I understand, because I mean, even the documentary, I think one of the words that was used is that it kind of seemed like Harvard was backing this. Because of course, anytime
Right.
he's going to be in the picture, they're going to mention Harvard professor John Mack. So then it seems like, oh, Harvard is taking this seriously. That name drop is kind of, you know, it's heavy enough, I think, where people pay more attention to it. So I kind of understand, although I obviously don't like that. I think it's kind of messed up, because even if the kids were crazy, let's say, that still not a mental health issue?
Yeah.
If
And
it
thank
was
you,
that they
UFO
made it
John
up.
Doe. And thank you again. He says, Kari, you're right, though. MUFON lady, BBC reporter, and the lady reporter never asked those intimate telepathy questions. They ask what they saw. So you're not wrong. Yeah. So I suppose the first interviews did not include any of this telepathic communication.
They didn't even mention it, though.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah,
they would have mentioned.
There's not even like a hint of it anywhere, and then
I don't
it
think
comes
we
up
have all
later
the
on, and
footage,
it's like,
though. You notice that like every clip
did the
is
BBC
stripped,
not
just
give
clips.
the archives?
Yeah,
Because the
I would have.
Footage is pretty open.
I would have really liked to see the entirety of the interviews, because people who are skeptical have accused, or I think even like the Skeptic Society or one of those societies that did sort of a debunk on this whole thing. They claimed that Dr. John Mack was using very leading questions, like, did they have big eyes? That's not how you would ask the question. You would say, how big were their eyes? Not, did they have big eyes? And then, you know,
you're painting a picture for them and then asking the question at the same time.
Because children can be very agreeable,
right?
Like, and they want to please who they're talking to, so maybe they would just go with wherever he was leading them. But they're so adamant in their adulthood at what they saw.
Leading questions. This is my note. Leading questions.
This is your, I thought you had slides. This is it.
I have slides.
Oh,
Bri has slides. I have a journal note that I ripped out of my journal.
Well, we can.
But it's double-sided though, so
we can get to Brianna's
I even did a
slide.
doodle of the UFO look. There you go.
I called it her turd. She drew a little turd.
I did draw a little turd. It's okay.
I made my UFO.
You know, the other thing that I was wondering is if the children may have been influenced by certain, you know, movies and things that were out at the time. But I mean, I wasn't able to find any. It's not like E.T. or you know, Close Encounters came out the month before this happened. So, you know, you can look up 1992, 1993, 1994 movies. Nothing really stood out to me, you know.
No, not at all. And then it's like, even if that was the case, did 62 students all get together and just agree that they were going to pretend to see the same thing?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and the fact that they all gave similar accounts, drew similar drawings, that leads me to believe that they all saw the same thing. I would assume that they all saw the same thing or nearly the same thing, right?
This is why I think you go.
I was just going to say, I think we're dealing with them seeing the same thing, but then also describing it a little bit different. But I do believe that when you have they're at such a young age, you don't know what you're looking at. I think it's hard to put those things together. So it's hard to know if they were filling in blanks that they didn't have because they're listening to their friends, or if they really that's what their consciousness was telling them that they were looking at. It can go both ways, I believe.
Yeah, and I was interested and intrigued also by that description where they sort of like maybe the beings appeared to be in and out of phase or something like that.
Right.
Like there was some sort of distortion of reality, because that leads into a whole nother thing. Like it could have been not aliens, it could have been some kind of interdimensional rift or something, because they saw this weird...
I had a thought about that earlier today. So, okay, let's assume, for argument's sake, a craft really came down and people got out. And the report is that they were running, but in slow motion, then they would phase out and be back the other side of the field, repeating the process over and over. Is that an artifact of some kind of time dilation? Now, I had the thought, if this is a real craft with some kind of alien drive, what if it was malfunctioning and that's why they landed? And there's a time dilation field which is messing with everything, and then they get out and they're like, come with us. I mean, it's a pretty crazy, nutty story, but like, I'm trying to rationally explain how there could be the visual for 60 kids of a being running in slow motion. Like, how does that happen to 60 kids?
Yeah, and I was also struck by, like, you know, I have a 6-year-old, and if he saw something like that, like I wouldn't know what to do with that or with him. You know, I mean, my first thing would probably be to get him counseling and make sure everything's okay or something. But that had to be weird, because all these parents, their children came home and started telling them that they saw this strange craft and these beings, and some of the families were religious, and that becomes very problematic for religious people, you know, because most especially Christians, they go right to, oh, that's demonic, you know,
the devil.
It's the devil. Yeah.
It's that girl, Emily Trim, who was, it seemed to me almost like she was one of the focuses of the movie. That, you know, her family was extremely Christian. And the day after the sighting, they're like, wrap it up. And they left and went to Canada.
That's a good point.
So they literally were like, we're done here. We're not talking about it.
I'm aware of a family. I'm aware of a family that bought a home near a friend, and they were convinced that the house was infested with demonic entities. They moved in, and the very next week they put the house up for sale and moved out like 2 weeks later. It's weird, but I guess some people, when confronted with something paranormal, they're like, they just check out, right?
Absolutely.
Simon Fly has an excellent comment in the chat there.
Simon Fly. Okay, the drawings weren't all the same. They were kids who also have vivid imaginations. Kids also prone to wanting to belong and just go along with what everyone else is saying. No pics, lots of red flags. Yeah, and the fact that none of the teachers saw this, which is odd to me, because I don't know how they do it in Zimbabwe, but here in the United States, if a bunch of kids are out playing, there's got to be some kind of supervision. And it sounded to me like the teachers just said, well, we were having a staff meeting. We just left them outside by themselves. That's bizarre to me.
I did think that was weird.
These are little kids. These are like 1st and 2nd graders, some of them, you know?
They go from
should we get your slides going?
I think it's like
Kari's getting impatient.
I want to see the slides. I'm excited.
Okay. I don't know if I have.
This is exciting.
It's on here.
Wow.
Look you want
this.
to
Wow,
I renamed it How Aliens Ruined Recess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of accurate, actually.
So we've already basically covered all of this. I took these screenshots.
I know, but it's a nice visual while we're talking.
Yeah. So here's the school. I mean, there's nothing around here.
Yeah, it's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So, like, are they really worried about? Oh, this is my drawing. Is it just me, or is that Crocodile Dundee when he was like 6?
Crocky, mate.
Yeah.
He does look like Crocodile Dundee.
This was my drawing. This was my recreation.
Look at that. Very good.
Because that's basically exactly what happened, right? The older kids are running down to all the smaller kids, and some of them are crying. They see
Some
them
poor
up
kid
here.
lost his lunch. Look at that.
I know. He's like, I'm out of here.
That's actually that's a good depiction of it. That's a good.
No, because like this is where it was.
Give it a
this
second.
is my recreation.
Well,
oh, did it not show up?
Wait,
that's
wait
pretty
for
good.
it.
Hey,
Wait
Lou
for
from
it.
UCR is here. Show him your sign.
It'll
Show
get
him your,
there.
show him your sign.
Oh, he's seen the sign before.
Okay, then. Justice for Luis Jimenez. Very good.
So this is where, I mean, this is the back area of this school. There's nothing there. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they do things differently than here in the States.
There's some trees, Bri. That's not nothing.
There's some huts too. Look at that.
That's
Those are
probably
huts.
where the principals and the teachers reside. Those
In the
are
huts?
teachers' quarters.
They live in huts?
In the huts.
I don't see why not. They could
Bri,
walk
I think
to work.
you're fake news, Bri. I think you're making shit up.
If you
I
were
said I
going to
don't see
land
why
somewhere,
not.
though, you see all those mountains and hills. If you were going to land somewhere, it makes sense. You're going to land on a flat area.
The only
with all these
flat
mountains
part,
and hills.
right?
The only flat part is right
Right.
there at the school.
Yeah, school, the
Makes sense.
playground. And then the reason why this has been kind of floating around is because you have some kids like, oh, I saw them on a rock, or other ones just say in the trees. Who knows? We already talked about John Mack.
Who?
But John Mack, this man right here,
You
everything
fall
seemed
for
to
the
be kind
joke
of.
every time.
I know. Jean.
time. Jean Mac. Sorry, I had to
So-
get one. I had to get one Jean Mac in.
I know people are saying that the drawings weren't all the same, but they're pretty damn similar.
They are pretty similar. Look, even
they
mine's
are.
similar. Look at that.
I
Look
have
how
some
accurate
more.
mine is.
Yeah, I did. There are some more in here, but that's all kind of the same thing. That it was like in between trees. The whole person in black, people in black thing's a bit weird. But again, it's like a UFO and trees. I think a really interesting detail that one of the children, well, now an adult, was saying was that their skin looked almost like plastic, that their faces were so white that it doesn't even register as pale. It looked like plastic. So I don't know if I feel like diving into a conspiracy now, but let's just say if this wasn't a real encounter, the only way that I can see this as being faked is if all of those teachers, I don't know why they would do this because I don't see how you would get funding from this, but what if all these teachers were mysteriously gone because they were going to do this to the kids on purpose to get attention, and they're just wearing black suits and masks, and that's like the plastic on their face?
Could be, but that's a stretch, I think.
That's like such a stretch. So that's it's hard because I understand why a lot of people have questions about this, but all of this, I mean, there's so many. The only thing that doesn't make sense is this girl who said that I mean, doesn't this look like a blimp?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And I, the one time didn't Mick West come up with some explanation that it was like a Volkswagen bus
Oh,
and
stop.
puppets or something, right? That no, I don't see how you mistake puppets, but people have mentioned the plasticky faces and said, oh, it could have been puppets.
Puppets.
Like somebody's running around in the woods right next to a school with puppets and a Volkswagen bus. It doesn't make sense to me. So, this is one of those cases that I can't explain it. And it's difficult to come up with an alternate explanation for what they saw.
Right.
It's extremely,
The age group, so they were anywhere from second grade to seventh.
Bri also has like
seventh.
5 pages of notes.
Seventh. Yeah, so they were for anywhere from second grade to seventh grade.
That's
It was
quite an
kinda-
age bracket. Like,
I mean, I could see like the smaller kids making things up, but I think I remember being in seventh grade. I feel like I wouldn't have made. I don't know. Who knows?
It's interesting people are bringing up the head teacher because like this was my initial take on the head teacher, and it reads, did he pressure the kids? How does he feel about like the myth that's happened from it? Now later on he like gives an interview, but that my first impression was like, off about him.
I don't know about
So-
this. Somebody said the principal was really short and obsessed with UFOs. I never heard
Yeah,
that.
I
didn't know that.
He seemed like he was. It just seemed awkward, and maybe that's why, because he was trying to pretend like he didn't know what was going on. And the fact that goes to Bri's theory that it was them, because if the head teacher of the school is really into UFOs, knows how to knows the literature, the mythology and the literature, knows how to fake it, and it creates its own loop. You learn about it to fake it to create the new lore to.
Right.
Jello Putin says, "Yeah, man, you guys don't get to destroy this one, damn it." And I'm not here to destroy your people's UFO delusions.
I'm here to review the evidence.
So people send me messages like, "Why don't you review a case that's real?" We go through whatever the case is, and then we, So it's not my fault that there's so much fake shit.
Mm-hmm.
This one's still in my gray basket, and it has been for a decade.
Yeah.
Or more,
And I mean, okay, so then there were sightings later on in the evening, though.
And earlier in the day as well.
So, all of this is just happening, and the teachers just miraculously picked a day to fake a UFO landing, and it happened to be where pilots and people throughout the other area were also seeing something.
I don't think that it's a possibility that the teachers did it unless some of them weren't in on it, because there was some teachers that are just like, well, I think the kids have overactive imagination, and I'm not sure.
See, that's what you would want to say if you wanted to draw attention away from the fact you did
mind kicks in, yes. But I just don't think that the teachers faking it is a good explanation. It's pretty far-fetched.
I know who we should ask. We should ask Ian Crossland what he thinks.
He'll tell you that it was a top secret craft made of graphite.
It was a top secret craft. It was made of graphene. Now you gotta tell your teachers to tell the kids in the school it was made of graphene.
Somebody didn't like the rings of power.
I'm gonna give you back to Kari now. Okay?
Yeah, we have just eyewitness testimony from children, yes. But then there are adults that were pilots. There were 3 of them total pilots-wise who saw them. So that's the only thing. And this is a video. I just took screenshots of the video that was played, where there was just kind of like one orb, and then it splits into 2.
Yeah. And welcome to the show says, could have been a chemical release that caused a mass illusion.
I have a note for that. It's in a cube. It says mass hypnosis.
Well, it is very common that people can experience these gas leaks, or even that are natural, like there'll be a methane deposit under the earth somewhere, and there's methane being released, and people like half pass out and they have hallucinations and things like that, and it's caused by that. But I don't think that many children would be affected, or there would have been some medical signs of some kind of gas exposure, maybe, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the part of the mystery.
Right?
See, for me, it's just I almost can't. They are separate instances, but for me, it's just odd that there would be that with all the other sightings that took place. It was all over the newspapers, and so like in this one of the excuses was that it was a Russian rocket. So the upper stage of a Russian rocket that was launched in August 26th, that it was that falling down, and people hallucinated with that. Which Kari and I figured out later was not the truth.
That's interesting. So it
couldn't have been a rocket.
It could have been space debris coming down. It could not have been.
No, because I asked Kari, like, can you look up the rocket?
Nice slide, bitch. Jesus, man.
Hey, you finally made it.
You know what that is? I'm going to chalk that up to a phallic fantasy you have with me.
Wow.
That's what I think. Just look at that. That is a phallic symbol. That is how I'm affecting this woman.
You think so? I was thinking
so.
You're going to
I'm
the moon.
hopeful. I don't know. I hope so.
Hey, we can think that. That's
thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. So yeah, people are saying, it's the upper stage of a Russian rocket that was launched the 25th, but it docked September 2nd. It didn't even leave
until
till
after the
October.
event.
So we're
Yeah, so
just
it
like,
couldn't have been
how is that possible?
Isn't
How
it
would it
funny though how
take-
some people put that explanation? They say, well, it could have been space debris. There was a space launch nearby, and they don't do the extra step to check because, you can check,
Yeah, so that didn't make sense. The only thing that they had other than that was that it could have been a meteorite.
Could have been, yeah.
And that we have no idea.
But
We
it
don't
was
have.
hovering.
Yeah, but
Like
I think
in
the
the
witnesses
video.
said it hovered and changed direction, which would indicate some form of intelligent control. Meteors don't do that.
Although,
Yeah,
this article could be a result of misunderstanding the reports that people were giving. Or it could be a whitewashing of the reports that people were giving. So
Sweet Carolyn's throwing shade on us, saying Brianna did her research for this. She's good. And me and you are slackers.
I always
Kari.
roll like that, man.
I did.
what?
At least I wrote something, Stephen.
Yeah,
I
at least
wrote
you have a
something.
napkin.
I wrote bullet points. Come on.
Let's see them. Let's see them right now.
Yeah, so there
I'm
was
on
an
a different
astronomer.
computer. They are on my other computer.
Excuses.
Swear.
It's always
Yeah,
an
no,
excuse.
I watched it once and didn't take any notes, and then I felt like I had to watch it again
Right.
and take some kind of notes. But they were just points and bullet points. Things like the consistency of the stories as the children aged also impressed me. Like, you would think that the fog of time would change their story, but they didn't. And I was also intrigued by that artist girl who seemed pretty obsessed. Like she just keeps painting Alien that she saw over and over and over again, and the craft that she saw.
The thing is, it's easy to remember a story when it's
struggle with
been
her.
recorded on video and put on TV for decades.
Oh,
It's
what's
easy to
the
remember.
trouble with her? I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I just kept waiting for more from her.
Mm-hmm.
I told Kari when I watched it the first time, and she was really upset. She was crying, so I rewound it to be like, "Wait, did I miss something? Did she tell us that something happened?" And there was nothing there. So I don't know. The only thing I can think of is maybe she's had other experiences and she's not open to talking about it. Because would you really have halted your entire life? I don't know. I mean, what's your guys' opinions on that? I mean, she said she left her town. She ended her relationship. She was engaged. Now she's like living with her parents. She's upset. She feels isolated. She's going through some type of depression.
Yeah, and now is the time where she goes back to revisit this. That seemed
Right,
odd to
and-
me as well. And there was something weird with her. Like, she seems so familiar to me, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. Like, maybe she looks like somebody I used to know or something, but there's something weird about her that seemed familiar to me. Maybe
So,
just
like-
too many crystal hippie bitch artists that I've known in my life. Brianna.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
'cause
But she
seemed
was
kind of
really
like a
upset a
crystal hippie.
lot.
Yeah, she was
She was
a
a little
crier,
too
yeah.
much for me. I don't know, but I'm not a crier, so I don't know.
I'll
But
be honest, I kind of tuned out by the end. It
Yeah.
was really hard. Like the first 45 minutes to an hour were really well put together. Like one of the first notes I wrote was intro, nice use of archival. Because it did really set the stage with all the news reports and like situating the audience. And then by the time
Yeah.
it got through like the main chunk of it, and it kind of came to the present day to come and investigate.
We don't get political here.
It was lackluster as heck.
Somebody mentioned that we should do a political episode, and we don't do that here. And further, it's election time, and somebody woke me up today. Some rude lady woke me up, and she goes,
hell no.
"Oh, I didn't wake you up, did I?" And then she looks at her watch and says, "It is 10 a.m." And I said, "Some people work nights, lady." And I slammed my door in her face. I hate politics. Well, I don't ever want to do politics shows. No.
And I didn't know that girl, what's her name again? Emily? I didn't know that she mentioned other experiences because I just kept waiting for more from her and I watched it. twice, and I just was like, what is so upsetting? There's got to be more to the story. So maybe that makes sense if she did mention other experiences.
Well, the implication from it, like, I wasn't totally tuned out. I was watching, but it didn't hold my attention in a way that was like captivating. The implication I got from it was that the experience of being back at the school and being back in,
that could make somebody
I can only imagine like the pathways that's opening up in her brain after having not been there for decades. To be back there.
I had the same experience. I took my son to the school that I went to when I was a kid. He went to nursery school there,
right?
And the first time I was back in like the gym and walking through the halls of that school, because I spent 9 years there, it was emotional for me. And I was walking through, remembering all the people and the other kids and the, everything that happened. I went to Catholic school and the nuns used to beat us, Brianna.
Okay, well that's worth it. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, so I got a little emotional.
Back.
I was like, oh, that's where Sister smacked the shit out of me.
See, and that was the vibe I got from Cynthia Hind. Kari's like,
right.
As soon as she entered the scene, all of the kids acted weird. But for me, I looked at her and was like, she beats these kids with a ruler. Like, the teachers are
They said
turning
she
their
was
back,
strict.
and she's
That
like,
one teacher, they're like, oh,
like,
you were strict, but you were fair. That means she only smacked the kids that needed it, right?
Well, it was the MUFON lady.
The MUFON lady.
Oh, that one.
She just was weird.
Yeah, she seemed a little, but you got to remember that everybody into this is a little wackadoo, right? I'm a little crazy. You're a little crazy, Brianna.
We're all a little
crazy. Definition of being a woman, crazy. For sure, you're crazy.
I am very
Kari's
wild.
crazy too. We're all a little crazy.
Apparently, I'm spicy.
Spicy.
That's a Kari.
I wrote this one down because somehow in the documentary, Alan Dershowitz turns up for like 20 seconds.
Why does Brianna have a statue of a big ass?
Oh, no, it's a candle.
It's an ass candle? Nice. I
I
hope it's not a Senate candle.
No, unfortunately.
Brianna's got an ass candle. Nice.
Oh, yeah, I've got an ass candle and a vagina painting. I am not afraid of my feminine body.
I'm afraid.
Are you afraid of your feminine body, Stephen?
I'm just challenging everyone's beliefs these days.
I think Stephen's afraid of his feminine body.
Listen, Kari, people can say whatever they want, but when I was younger, I was into all the androgyny and gender bending. So I have fully embraced both sides of my personality at various times in my life. But now I'm comfortable being,
I'm glad.
I'm good.
I'm glad you are good with being you, man. Good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, we're all learning here. It's all love. It's all good. Anyway, so I was saying
something. Oh yeah, sorry.
No, I was saying something, Bri.
Yes.
Alan Dershowitz turns up and has a point. In culture and kind of nomenclature about experiences, there's a lot less stigma around religious experiences where angels come down and have contact than when aliens come down and have contact. Like, they can be exactly the same experience, but just the word is changed, and it changes the whole connotation, even though the experience remains the same. I just thought that was a really interesting point in terms of how we categorize experiences.
Yeah, and a lot of times a religious experience and an alien experience are pretty similar or even intertwined. A lot of people don't know this, but the children at Fatima who saw what they believed to be the Blessed Mother, Mary, there was also a mass UFO sighting that was witnessed by hundreds of people. A sphere, a golden sphere in the sky. And who knows who those kids were seeing, It was their interpretation, being a religious Catholic children, maybe, that it was the Blessed Mother. And for all we know, it was the same alien lady that the Bledsoe guy sees, right?
Oh, I've heard stories.
Yeah.
But
well, you have to take into consideration that people only know what they have context to. So I think when people see something for the first time and they don't know, especially if it doesn't fit into their own belief systems, it can be paradigm shifting if they let it be. If not, then they mold that experience to fit what they know.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe as people are mentioning, it was peak. Amy Collins says it was peak gray alien around 1994, and that might be because of communion and other things. So maybe the children were influenced by culture.
Whose child is watching that?
I would think in Zimbabwe they were a little removed from American culture, and that was mostly an American phenomenon. I think the gray aliens and all that stuff. But
the end of the first season of the X-Files aired in like May '94, which was all about the Erlenmeyer flask with the gray alien. So it was like pumped out into mass culture.
I'm curious about the. Did you two think that the ending it was like sort of anticlimactic? It was just like, yeah, this happened.
Yeah, this is what I meant.
We don't know what it was. Thanks for watching. And there was no, I would have liked to see the children as adults interviewed with more, I don't know, drilling down. Like, what did you think this means? How has this changed your life? And it just seemed like it was just like, it wasn't. But I don't know how I would have ended it if it was my film. Like, what do you do with that? What if they did see, like, let's just say they saw an alien spaceship that landed. They saw people, aliens, get out of the craft or get back in it and whatever. And what do you do with that? Like, what is that? I don't know what you would do with that,
Fair, Amy, fair. And also that girl that Emily, the one that I kept hoping for more from, I kept waiting for them to sit down with her and her talk about it. And she never did. And the only parts we have of all the kids' stories are really in tiny bits. It's like a sentence here, 2 sentences here, a sentence here. We don't have an overall picture of one person sitting down and going through all of it. And I would have liked to see that, because you take a couple sentences and then you put it all together to make what you want people to see, opposed to hearing the entire story. But that's what documentaries do a lot of the time. They just take bits and pieces from people, and then it kind of fits whatever story they want to tell you, unfortunately.
Yeah, you may be right. And I seem to recall, and I looked for it, but I can't find it. I do recall that there was a female witness to this that did sort of like expand, and I'm going to keep looking for it because I think one of these children expanded and sort of made claims that they were in new communication with aliens, but of course they were working UFO conferences as best as I recall. So that's a whole nother avenue to explore, because at least one of the witnesses is claiming adding on to the story. That's the only thing that I remember. The rest, it seems like the story hasn't changed, which is interesting.
None of it has changed. No.
None of it's changed since the initial chunk from Experience to John Mack leaving. And then there wasn't really much after that, because obviously they're kids in school. They can't just spend their entire lives talking about an event. But
yeah, but I wonder how many times you would go back and watch yourself.
No, my question really is, what was added in after the initial interviews? Because it does evolve from it started off with, we saw this thing, they're running across the field, to by the end of it, there was a telepathic message and I want to ask them questions. Why are you here? So I'm just curious how we get there in the process, because surely these things would have been at least hinted at in the first place, instead of it being like they got the gotcha at the end, and and then they left it, they get what they wanted, they frame it in the way they wanted, and then they leave. So I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that it's not real, but I'm not 100% convinced that the investigation was done properly. I mean, one of my notes here is homemade Geiger counter. Like the MUFON lady who turned up for the second interview. So they did the first one with the BBC guy. MUFON lady turns up, She gets a guy to go out there with a homemade Geiger counter, and I'm like, well,
yeah, that had a
homemade.
like, how do you know that you're getting the right reading there?
But at least they reported that it was normal. You know, they could have used that opportunity to say, "Oh, the meters are off the chain. It's just crazy." At least they didn't do that.
Well, I think maybe it was a case of they knew they couldn't use it because it's not a legitimate Geiger counter. But if they got anomalous readings, they would have then spent the money. But they didn't get any readings, so they didn't spend the money to have one come out.
I'm
Maybe
curious.
Yeah, something like that.
So let's separate the original story from the kids, right? They all saw this thing land, kind of blinking in and out. They saw the beings move around strangely. Let's separate that from the telepathic aspect once John Mack enters the building.
Right.
If we
That's
kick
why I
that
tried
out,
to-
what about
what I
the
was
main
thinking about.
story? Do you believe that part?
Yeah, and I saw Charlie Weiser in the live
Yes.
chat, and I've asked Charlie Weiser. Charlie has a debunk thread on Twitter, and I'm trying to find it right now. Talk about being. So if you have a link to that, Charlie, send me the link to the thread where you talk about the inconsistencies in the story and the problems with it. That might be helpful. Because I guess if it depends, this whole story, it's like how you look at it. Because I've seen skeptics just go, well, they're children, you can't believe what they say. I don't want to go that far, but I think that a children's testimony might be less reliable than an adult's, right?
That's questionable.
I think that initial interview, like I was saying to Bri earlier, like you've got all these kids around in a group, right? And they're telling the story to the camera. I feel like if a detail was gotten wrong, all of the other kids would be like, no, it happened like this, because it's kind of a collective memory at that point. There's still a group in the group dynamic. Whereas after that, they're all taken individually, and you see like the anxiety and build-up in them over time to the point where at the end they look pretty traumatized by the whole experience. Whereas that first one, they're still in their they're still in that bubble of being, we're just school kids, not school kids with a thing that's going on. It's just they're just in their own little social bubble that they're developing in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, it's interesting that before John was there, the initial ones, almost all of the people, at least within the documentary, almost all of them talked about singing like a bright silvery, like a point or flashes in the sky first, then the UFO. Some of them say that it just lowers, but another one, they're saying that it lands in the rocks. Those were
You
their
transcribed
words.
their exact words, right?
I did. I wrote first, last name, the grade that they're in, and every word that they used. So
Yeah, and I've got the Charlie Weiser thread, and this will kill a lot of people's excitement about the case. I think.
Well, I'm gonna leave.
No, we have to be fair. Show both sides.
Okay.
Show both sides. Ariel phenomenon, a labor of love for witnesses and fans of the story.
Can you zoom in?
Sending of voices. Aloud, Nickerson's background informs his belief this was aliens. He has no emotional or financial incentive to be balanced. A thread on what I learned from watching the film. Adults standing by a story they believe this kid's isn't persuasive, Charlie says. Yes, it's affected them. No, time doesn't improve memory. There was no independent testimony then. There's none now. They're in touch via a Facebook group. So that's interesting. The children are all communicating on a Facebook group. Still, the kid's initial testimony is the best we have. Not once in the film is the possibility raised, let alone explored, that the kids were mistaken on what they saw. I think that's fair. They didn't raise that. Initial reports of the Monday, Tuesday after the incident are unremarkable. A glinting disc, two normal-sized men doing nothing inhuman. No floating 3-foot-tall aliens, no running in slow motion, no looping or winking in and out of existence, no aliens coming close, no telepathic messages. So, Kari, you raised the point about what was the difference between the initial testimony and the later testimony. And it does seem like the testimony got more grand or more
escalated.
embellished. Yeah, more fantastic as the questioning
was
went on.
this after Cynthia Hines turned up?
Yes.
Yes. You know what else the film doesn't
Did
show?
she start asking questions? Did you get a telepathic message?
Oh, one of the children says, I thought maybe it was the gardener, and they cut that from the film. That's problematic for me.
Yeah, that's
an odd omission, which, if true, seems important. 2 witnesses now assert they came within arm's reach of the alien. No child reported seeing this. Does Nickerson not find this credible enough to include? Not even from Emily Trim, whose trip back to Rua is heavily featured. And there's more. Nothing about the craft leaving in recent interviews. Nickerson says no one saw it leave because they all, yes, all, went screaming at the teachers. So that is some question that I have too. They didn't see the craft take off or disappear. It was just gone. Yet some kids did report it disappearing. Does Nickerson not find them credible? Tim Leach, always portrayed as a hardened war zone reporter, did not exactly approach this skeptically. From day one, he assumed the African sightings were a UFO. This is for real, and what the UFO was directly related to Ariel. So I guess, perspective is important. You can have 2 journalists, one very skeptical and one not very skeptical, and you'll get 2 different stories, I think. Charlie Weiser goes on to say, like most of the teachers at Ariel, Dr. John Mack and Leach couldn't wrap their heads around the idea that kids might have been mistaken, especially in the context of UFO mania sweeping Southern Africa. It just never comes up. Various comments by the teachers, again focused on whether the kids are lying, show a surprising lack of insight into child behavior. Children know when other children are conning them. Maybe this woman didn't have older siblings. Dr. Mapp outlines the straw man that fuels the last part of the film, that humanity can't handle the blow to the ego of not being the most intelligent or advanced creatures of the cosmos. Did he only hang out with young Earth creationists? And Charlie says, I've said it before. I've never met a skeptic who asserts we're alone in the universe or isn't curious about ET life. And this is another thread. Ariel school sighting. Looked briefly at the earliest footage of interviews with the kids. Dr. Mack interviewed them 2.5 months later. That's a problem for me. 2.5 months is a long time to wait between interviews. Yeah, so...
Didn't he just go there once, though? Are you sure it wasn't like 2.5 months from the last interview till when Mac showed up?
Yeah, Charlie Weiser was in the live chat. Maybe she knows and can clarify that. But
I can't imagine him back.
I have a question.
From
so
Africa.
I was sitting just thinking about the scenario. So, like, in the chain of events of the experience.
Oh no! So it was
Mac only went
2.5
once.
months. Mac only went once. 2.5
Okay.
months after the initial encounter.
So it starts off
not
with,
really
with the
big deal.
younger kids really upset looking at this thing. Older kids come running over. Why would the smaller kids have started crying and being super upset? Because that was the chain trigger for everyone else running over, was the fact that these kids were upset.
The Men in Black.
Well, I'm thinking about like this time dilation idea. Like, could it have had worse effects on younger kids, giving them like this feeling of unease, and that's why they freaked out and started crying and stuff? And then, the older kids then run down to see what's going on, and now they're inside the field. I don't know. It's just interesting.
This is problematic because Mac interviewed them. Charlie Weiser says 2.5 months later. And for those that don't know, Charlie Weiser is one of those people that when they make a statement, I trust that Charlie's information is accurate. So they interviewed them once, 2.5 months later, and that was the first time telepathic messages was mentioned. And that's problematic for me because I'm sure Mac had talked to alien abduction victims that claimed that they were being communicated with telepathically. This could have been more leading questions like, did they, and the 2.5 months, go do something with your 6-year-old and then ask him, tell me about what we did today. And then wait 2.5 months and ask the same 6-year-old, tell me about what we did that day. you're gonna get a wildly different story. So
yeah,
that's.
But he only went to Africa one time. I mean, who knows why it took him that long to get here or to get there.
Well, busy guy, head of Harvard.
But it wasn't like he
psychiatry.
went to Africa, had the conversation, left, and then came back 2.5 months later and asked him again, and then was more leading. I mean, it's all in the same interview, Mac, with Mac.
Yeah, but I still think it's a good mystery, and I believe that maybe they did see something otherworldly, because I can't explain this one away. As skeptical as I am about many stories,
right.
They're just, like if like let's take for example this public explanation. Like if somebody had found a puppeteer and interviewed them and they said, yeah, we were going through that area with our van and the van broke down or something, and okay, but just to throw out like it was a van with puppeteers, that's not a valid explanation. It makes no sense, and we have no other way to explain away what these children saw, except maybe that a few children told a story, and then would 50 other children just jump on the story when they saw the parents and the attention that the first few were getting? Maybe, but it seems unrealistic that would be the case.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to split the case. Like when I asked Kari, I personally believe the first part, because I think that there were too many children, and I think that even if some of the the way that they described it varied a little bit, overall they're all saying the same things. And I actually believe children a lot more than I believe adults. I think that
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I think that adults have reasoning behind things, and a lot of the time children just blurt out what they see.
Yeah, the only time children lie to you is when they have a fake phone and they hand you a phone and they say somebody's on the phone. That's a lie, but they're just playing. But you're right. Like children can sometimes be painfully honest.
Painfully honest, right?
Yeah.
And adults are always thinking of, what are the implications of this? What do they want me to say? Or what's going to happen? How is this going to affect my life? Who's going to hear this? Adults think about all those things when it comes to answering a question, and I think children don't. But it is suspicious to me with Mac, and that to me is just a little bit unclear. So I don't know how to feel about that. That's a little bit too much.
I agree, Enzo. That usually I agree with most of what certain skeptics have to say, who generally are well researched, but sometimes they just throw things out there, And I mean, it's possible. That's a possibility that it was some random van with a guy with puppets, but that doesn't make any sense, because given the attention that the case got, you would think that person would come forward and say, "I was me. I was messing with the kids," or what? Yeah, whatever, right?
Just in the middle of nowhere, just looking
B.
for a
Baker
rhino.
says the principal was a huge UFO fan. No teachers as witnesses during freaking recess when they should have been watching. Sounds like a hoax to me. It could very well be that somebody staged that event with, some kind of fake craft or a big silver balloon or something, just mess with the kids or get attention.
That's just an awful prank to do on a bunch of children.
Yeah, and the school didn't exactly profit from. They didn't get any financial gain from doing this or anything like that. If anything, it was kind of problematic for them, because then besides the BBC reporter, I'm sure other reporters came and annoyed them for the story.
Yeah. Well,
there's no return.
Well, like money in the story, at least.
No, they're not going to be like, we're going to pay you to ask.
No, I mean, like they'll go and do something.
Oh, it wasn't Mick West. Okay, it was somebody else. Gideon, who wrote the Puppet Hypothesis, is updating it with part 2 this Friday. Well, send that to me send me the link to the original Puppet Hypothesis, and I will look at both of them.
A bunch of children.
Charlie Weiser says not plausible that the principal or teachers were involved.
I agree. I don't think that the principals and the teachers were involved.
I got another. There's another possibility. Could it have been like a silver vehicle that these children were unfamiliar with and midgets driving it. Dwarfs? Could be, right? Like they got out, picked up some rocks, and then they drove off. Who knows? You know, there's dwarfs in every country.
I mean, again, it's like these are. It's not outside the realm of extreme possibility, but
yeah, but this is all just speculation. We don't have anything to go on.
What's the most rational explanation?
I think that midgets little people. I'm going to get emails about that. Little people in a silver vehicle that these children weren't familiar with is just as good a possibility as puppets and a puppet van or something, right? But I think that they definitely saw something not ordinary, that's for sure. This is not something that kids in school see every day. I just wish that there was more meat on the bones there, because what we get with this story is what we get with a lot of stories. We have witness testimony, and that's pretty much it. And I always want more, like I want some physical proof, picture, video, something,
This is why I wanted them to go out there with a freaking Geiger counter that wasn't homemade. Like,
So,
if you're going to be
I don't know if you saw in
investigating
the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail was saying I actually don't know the date. I shouldn't say that. But I did say that the Daily Mail posted a bunch of pictures that there was unsurfaced prints of the craft landing. I looked at the pictures and I didn't see anything.
What does unsurfaced prints
mean? Like they just resurfaced.
No, I get what you mean.
Going
but
through it, and now they see that there are like craft footprints. I mean, it doesn't look like anything to me. I think they just kind of took the story and are just saying that. But I don't think it's a coincidence that there were other sightings that exact same day, and those were by credible people. Those were by, you have an astronomer and 3 pilots, and I know that 2 pilots had called into air traffic control because they were experiencing interference with the object that was flying by them. So this is on the exact same day. And then there is that footage of the other objects, whatever was seen.
Yeah, and thanks to Ron from Cosmic Neighbors, he shared with me this blog with the public explanation, and I don't know, that I think this is pretty out there. And it's really just speculation. Puppet hypothesis. I think they saw puppets. There are a number of descriptions in the children's remarks that don't appear to be influenced by the interviewer, the situation, pressure to perform for the teachers, television cameras, or the expert questioners, but that are offered spontaneously and which support the hypothesis that what the children observed were puppets. Gray or unusual skin color, large head, big eyes, scrawny neck, long black hair, shiny black clothing or skin, no facial expression, stiff necks, running in slow motion, wordless communication. I think this is a big stretch, but he does show, I'm familiar with puppets. There are puppets that somebody could mistake for that.
But then what about the UFO that they saw? What about the flashing and the light that they saw? Yeah. They said it was silver, bright metallic in the sky. At what point do we reach so far to find an explanation?
Yeah, this one's definitely
that something can't be true.
This is a big reach. It's possible.
I find it interesting there was a sighting that same day in the area of something similar.
Yeah,
but you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful with that, Kari, because a lot of UFO cases are constructed out of disconnected events that people just connect the dots to. A puppet show. About AIDS for children, and then he shows examples, and I guess it could have been puppetry is indistinguishable.
I'm thinking the
magic.
UFO they saw. Another thing with their movement, they did say it was in slow motion, but they also described them as gliding.
You're right,
and that is not the first time we've ever heard that either. That is also very common. People that have seen other beings or abductees, they always describe their movement as gliding, like they're
This is such a long blog post. I give the guy credit for going this far to try to prove these things were puppets, but it's a big reach for me. It's just too big a reach. And here is image. No, I don't believe that this was puppets. And if that would be bigger than a person, that wouldn't be a 3-foot tall alien looking thing, you know? Like this
There's no bulging eyes on the side. I just
such a long blog post though. This guy really
You
tried
know,
to
just
convince
like
it,
looking at
you know?
all of us. They seem to have stiff necks. They don't seem to.
He put the kids' voices over the clip of the puppets.
My goodness gracious.
That's again, this is reaching. This is definitely reaching. And again, he thinks that the craft that they saw were this van or a similar van. And that's a stretch
that
as
doesn't
well.
look
Because
like the drawings.
yeah, and I would think that somebody in a van would have come forward and said that wasn't a spaceship, that was our van or something. And that case got huge attention. It was like the biggest thing that ever happened to that town and country, you know? Oh, according to King Charlie, Charlie Weiser said the aliens were 5 to 5'6" tall as reported by the kids. Cynthia Hind reported them as 3 feet tall for no reason. So
everything seems to go back to this freaking lady, man. Like Cynthia Hines.
Kari,
Okay,
if she's still living, I can try. I'll find her. I'll no.
Do it.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I don't know.
I'll reach out to her, and then we can get some more answers. I think we could you know.
Some of the children said that there was one taller than the other. There was one child that when they're like, how tall was it? And it said as tall as one of the 6th graders. So they really had no idea. They're just describing the best that they can.
Oh, Ron Cosmic Neighbor says we're just dismissing that article because we just skimmed through it. We didn't. I'll read. I did read the whole thing previously though, and I thought it was a reach. It was a big stretch. And for some reason, I apologize to Mick West maybe he just repeated that or posted it. I thought that was Mick West's theory, and I was like, "Wow, that one's off the rails. That one's too much, right?"
Did he post it without context?
True. Damn, 7th graders are 5 feet
wow,
tall.
I just popped that conversational bubble, didn't I?
I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Who are you?
A van full of kooky puppets.
Oh.
Yeah, one child said it was as tall as a 7th grader, which is 5 feet. So somehow they got turned into 3-foot tall aliens by.
What if it was some other 7th graders messing around?
Could have been kids playing a prank, right? Or kids.
There are short 7th graders too. We have no idea. That's so vague. I'm down with Michael Jackson hypothesis. I like
Maybe
that
about
one.
5'6". Do you think it might have been Michael Jackson?
That's what Mark
said. He did really like school-age children, Brianna. So.
I thought it was a plastic face joke, but okay.
That Neverland thing ruined my childhood. Every time I hear Michael Jackson on the radio now, I change it. I'm like, ew.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Still like Michael
And
Jackson.
on that bombshell.
Still like him, I'm sorry.
So we'll take if anybody has any comments or questions for me, or especially for our guests, because we'll put them on the hot seat for once instead of me. That would be great. Put them in all capital letters.
If you've got any questions for Ian Crossland in the chat, put them in all caps.
This case is one of those tantalizing, maybe true cases. It's tantalizing, maybe true. And
I'll take half of it.
At least we can't.
It reminds me of Roswell.
Yeah, at least you can't debunk the whole thing as bull. You can't. Not this one. You can. You know.
You can if you want to stretch more than for an explanation rather than just taking their word for it.
I think it's quite illuminating in how it's shown me how we take some people's experiences seriously and other people's not seriously. And sometimes it's like Alan Dershowitz said, it's like sometimes one word can be different and that will change the whole contextual understanding of the person you're explaining it to. I feel like there's a huge problem with that kind of stuff. So it definitely opened my own eyes to like how I would listen to an experiencer. It just, I don't know, it made me be a bit more patient than just going, no, having that reaction. Like that's part of the problem,
There was a time when I would not want to talk to or interview any experiencer, and I've learned the error of my ways with that. So I try to just listen and absorb it and see if I can get a sense of if they're, this is a real experience. Right. And in many cases, the people that I've interviewed or talked to, they've had genuine experience that can't be explained. And this is one of those times. This is one of those times. Yeah.
That's the biggest problem with being an experiencer. Your stories are so crazy. And no matter who you tell, someone's going to think that you're just lying or you want something. They don't trust experiencers, where, in my point of view, experiencers are the closest people to this phenomena. Everyone else is just kind of going through paperwork. So it's hard, though, because I know we want to keep a skeptical mind open. But I do think that we need to hear people's stories because, like I said, they're the ones that are actually involved.
Right.
They have the firsthand experience with it. Everyone else is just looking from an outside perspective. And
I'm going to put up a poll here. It says, I'm sorry. I'm going to put up a poll here. It says, did the children see, my wife has me well trained. You got to apologize constantly. Did the children see aliens or something else? Let me fix that. Or something else. So we'll put a poll up in our live chat. Let us know in the live chat. What do you think? Did the children see aliens or something else? And everyone's free to vote. I will pin that it's pinned at the top there. So just click the top to answer the question. And we appreciate everybody's feedback. I don't know what they saw. I don't know if it was aliens or something else. I would sure like to believe that it was. I would love to believe that it was aliens, but even if I did believe that it was aliens, it's kind of a meaningless encounter. Like, okay, we landed and then we telepathically communicated to children about pollution and then we left. I would hope that super advanced aliens have a better agenda when they have contact with humans.
I did have a little note about that. So as kids, they were, say this is all real, right? And they had this experience and they were telepathically given the message of eco-consciousness and saving the planet and all this stuff. That's something that they seem to carry with them now when they talk about it. I wonder if it's kind of like the note that I wrote was generational message. They carry it. Like they're carrying this message forward through generations from having it given to them as children. If it's real. So that's my thoughts on that.
Pins are flat.
Middle bitch.
Calling Brianna the middle bitch. She's the
middle bitching too.
Yeah, and Charlie Weiser says Ariel aliens were so dumb. They told 3 kids about pollution and it had 0 effects on anything. Yeah. And Moody Mongol wants to know if Kari has a second life playing mean rock, blues rock guitar.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Somebody's saying, yeah. So, and in the results,
I saw something about having a twin brother in there somewhere. Where is it?
Oh.
Here we go. Does Kari have a twin brother going by the stage name Joe Bonamassa? You got me.
That guy's an amazing blues guitar player. You'd be happy to be compared to him.
I haven't heard of him, but I'm going to look him up as soon as I get out of here.
Mac was sent in to clean up the case after Hein mucked it up.
That's a good thought. Was he sent in to go fix the mess that she made by overblowing it?
It could be, yeah. It definitely could be.
But then the fact his very presence just it kind of blew the whole thing up even more, like Streisand effect. It just
Yeah, and Joe 5D says they want to blame humans for anything that goes bad with the planet. Meanwhile, they got all the advanced tech. Yeah, but I'm always weird about people like, there's a concept in religion that explains, at least in Christianity, people ask questions like, well, why doesn't God do something about all those children with cancer? And cancer may have been a human creation. The cancer may be coming from our own human pollution. So to at least the priests that I grew up with would tell you that God would prefer us to solve our own problems. We created the problem. We have to learn to fix it. It's the same thing with aliens. Like, people think aliens are just going to come here and fix all our problems. I think they would, one, have better things to do, and for all we know, they have those rules like Star Trek that they can't interfere in our development. But I do love asking that question to people like Michael Horn, who claims that Billy Meyer is talking to aliens constantly. Like, well, get us a cure for cancer then.
The name we shall not name. He will go after all of us again. Let's not.
Oh yeah, let's forget we mentioned him.
Haven't all of us been a target of?
He knows when you're awake.
The bald monster, yes, the bald.
He scares
prick.
me. He's just.
He's lucky, Brianna, that I'm an older man with children now. Because if he had did what he did to me while I was younger and still like a fighter, like, I would have found out where he lived and I would have pulled him out of his house and beat like I really would have in my younger days.
He did a lot of shit to Jamie and I know that.
As your producer, don't finish
don't
that
do that.
sentence.
Yes.
I wanted to mention something to you guys. So one of the children that was saying like, oh, that it's about pollution, that they were warning about technology, too much technology. And then she said, in space, there is no love, but in here, there is love. And all of that stuck out to me because they looked like typical gray aliens. And I'm sure you guys are knowledgeable in gray alien lore, at least with Zetas, that they got to technology, way too advanced in technology, became like half machine, didn't have emotions anymore. Yeah. So they went underground and they're like coming back here because we have love and emotion. All of that. It's either incredible timing or they were for sure seeded with that story.
I heard everything you just said in a Christopher Walken accent, and I'm really sorry.
and you know what? It is.
When they're coming here and they're gonna do the thing,
and those aliens also glided.
It is interesting that they got that warning about technology, and yes, it is accepted UFO mythology that the Greys sort of bioengineered themselves out of emotions somehow because they thought that would advance them, and then they came back here to get the old DNA so they could get emotions back, and they're fascinated by humans because we still have this.
Because their children were dying, their hybrid children are dying because they have no love. So
wait. Isn't that the whole plot of the final season of Fringe? Or am I just going crazy?
I don't know.
The observers don't have emotions in the future, so they send a child back and the observer hides him in the past, and then they have to get the child who can experience love and send them to the future so that the observers who look like gray aliens can now have emotions in the future.
Okay, but stuff is always weaved in with film and literature. That's how
I know. It just struck me that that's a thing.
So yeah, that's a little too on the point for me. So I'm gonna have to overall say that it's a little fishy. Again, it's either 2 point on or someone seeded something. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know this, but the John Mack Institute apparently has full interviews and transcripts, and they may release them next year.
Why has it taken 26 years to release these transcripts?
Because no one cared until there was a documentary. Before, it was just like a story,
But they cared way back then. And I'm sure, like,
way back
institutes
then.
like MUFON and places like that would have had a vested interest in these transcripts. So why were they kept secret for 26 years?
So you guys should
That
have
is
added a middle
interesting.
bitch option, because there are obviously people here that know about the middle bitch, and they don't. You didn't leave that an option. You only said yes or no.
Oh, middle bitch. Yeah, I'm sorry. I only said aliens or something else. And
Well,
so
the
far,
only middle bitch here is you, Stephen.
yes, yes, but only if you ask my wife, I'm definitely the middle bitch. Let's see. According to our poll here, we have 55% of the audience says that they saw something else, and 47%, or I'm sorry, 53% said something else, and 47% said aliens. So it's kind of 50-50, right?
The cycle continues.
Yeah, it's that's probably why they had no ending. Like, what do you say?
You don't.
If
You
this
go back
came
to the
out-
beginning and you repeat the process just with different names.
So
and faces,
see,
but
this
it's the
is
same
where it
process.
gets fun. The John Mack Institute made a deal with Randall Nickerson, who made the Ariel movie, for exclusivity. And there's a time, like he has to have them exclusively for a certain period of time. Then they're allowed to release them.
But why weren't they released in 1994? That's my question. Regardless of the movie, why did it take 26 years of these transcripts being locked away when
Well, we
researchers
don't
like
know.
ourselves could
We
have
don't
benefited
know.
from having them?
Kari, you know what?
I'm getting angry.
The Brits are
I'm
angry.
going to make a note. I'm going to call the John Mack Institute tomorrow, and I'm going to ask them if they were ever released to anyone other than this filmmaker ever in their history. Because that's important,
Right.
If they only ever released it to the filmmaker, who apparently paid for the rights to exclusivity, that's kind of problematic for me. Because that's definitely UFO profiteering. And by all accounts, this filmmaker is a firm believer in aliens and UFOs. And what I like is I like those weird documentaries that are made by people who really don't know much about UFOs. It's almost like, they sort of delve into the rabbit hole. Those are a little more interesting sometimes, because I don't know, somebody like James Fox, he believes a lot of this stuff already. So there's going to be a tilt to the documentaries that the believers make,
Yeah, like J.J. Abrams when he did that series on he did that series on Showtime.
Oh, yes.
And that one I felt was very fair. For every experience, for everything that could possibly back it up that it was the truth, I felt like he did a great job at counteracting that as well.
Yeah,
and you're left like, well, then Wolf, it was, but that's how it should be, because you leave.
I'm gonna translate
everyone all the info.
She sounds pretty coherent for a crystal hippie bitch.
It's just that's an emotion part. You did that to me earlier. You did that to me earlier. Just I'm not even high. I'm never high.
Really?
No.
Just Jamie is all the time?
Yeah, just Jamie.
I don't like, if I smoke, it's not until before bed. I'll call Kari. I'll be outside to smoke. I'm not come inside.
And I'll be like, it's 4:00 in the fucking morning, Bri. But that's the whole other thing.
But that is. But yeah, no, I can't. I would not be able to, like, I can't function normally and smoke during the day.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Maybe it depends on the strain, though, right? If
I get paranoid
sativa,
and I get
fine.
I just get too distracted, paranoid. There's just too many things.
The cycle continues.
I forgot what I was saying, Kari. You threw me off with the.
I know.
She's not high, but she still suffers from CRS. So I don't know where we end this. I think we're at an impasse.
Well, isn't it funny how the documentary didn't have an ending, and now the discussion doesn't have an ending? This has been just another day in ufology, everybody.
Yes. Put
Thank
it up one more
you for
time.
coming.
Put up one more time. Just another day.
Just another day in ufology.
Another tantalizing, maybe true case that we can't definitively prove either way. We can't
Story of my
debunk it,
life.
but we can't prove it was aliens either. So,
Would you guys recommend it though?
I would recommend the film. Yeah. I thought it was pretty
for people
enjoyable.
that don't know anything about it. It's a really good explanation of what the case
even for
was.
people not into aliens, I think
Yeah.
they would find it a cool mystery. Even
if anything,
you know?
it's more palatable than other UFO documentaries because it's not like this isn't a bunch of like rednecks or anything. You're I saw a UFO and it was real cool, man. These are kids.
Wow.
Like there's a certain innocence to it. Well, that's how the culture portrays it a lot of the time. Is like you get all these wackadoo, and I have to pay royalties for using that word to Stephen. Wackadoo. These wackadoo people.
I'm sure I stole it from somebody else. I just like that
You
word.
did.
They always find the craziest people.
Wackadoo.
I like the term quackademic. I got that from
It's
John Anthony
wackadoodle, like
West.
wackadoodle. It's like the same.
You know what? One of the things is very disappointing about this case, though, is there's no pictures or videos. But I'm almost happy about that because then those things can often when people do have pictures and videos, it's fake. Like that Jonathan Reed case. That's my favorite fake UFO hoax case. It's so cringe. The guy with he got a dummy in a blanket and he's breathing heavy and he's like, oh, it's so cringe. And he's got the alien armband that he vanishes with. I love that.
I need that.
I love it.
You know what? I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
We can't have him on the show because we vet things 3 times before we let things on the show.
No, you know what's funny is I found him on Facebook and I am going to ask him for an interview, but I don't think he's going to do it.
No,
I'm going to ask him because I love.
I'm just going to slowly sink out of my chair now.
That is my favorite of all fake alien hoax. It is my favorite of all because it's so cringe and I couldn't believe it. I got a VHS tape of that shit in 1990 something. One of my friends who knew I loved aliens and was into aliens, he made a VHS tape and I think he was selling it somewhere at conferences, but then people just copied it. So I got one that was all like shitty and but I watched it and I went, oh my God, this is so bad. It's beautiful. And now the guy's making the rounds. He's been completely debunked, a total fraud, fake doctor, fake education, high school dropout, and fake work history, fake. Now he's making the rounds again. And I vet everything 3 times before I talk about it on my show, had him on his show. And he called him Doctor. Jimmy Church, and he called him doctor through the entire interview 100 times, even though the guy's a high school dropout and he's not a real doctor. He kept calling him doctor. It's awesome.
Have you noticed how whenever there's a grift experiencer or a grift whistleblower, Jimmy Church isn't far behind.
He's yeah.
Like he smells those UFO dollars, man.
Yeah, he's like the ambulance chaser.
Hey, you want to come and fade the black? Yeah, we'll come and
frauds.
fade the black. Yeah. Come do it. I'll give you 5% of the proceeds.
He is the ambulance chaser of UFO grifters for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was supposed to do a part 2, but I think because of us, he's not going to do the part 2.
Yeah, he looks
and I'm
ridiculous.
I should have waited and gotten the part 2. I really should have waited. You know,
you saved people's ears 3 hours of listening to a dude that's been debunked for 3 decades now. So good job. You're
my
on the
other
fourth decade now of him.
My other favorite of that guy is the that he like photoshopped himself with the Pope, and he was telling everybody that he met the Pope to tell, and the Pope wanted to hear about his alien encounter and all this shit. And then somebody found the exact picture that he photoshopped him meeting the Pope from. You know, like, oh, it's beautiful. And then he photoshops himself in front of pyramids and shit, and it's so bad of a Photoshop job that it's just cringeworthy bad. UFO John Doe says, guys, ever come across a TV show Project UFO from the 70s? Stumbled on YouTube, few episodes in. Kind of corny, but fun to watch. I love those old documentaries. That's why I love YouTube because, and thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We really appreciate it.
I'll look into that, man. I wouldn't recommend that movie to anyone, especially anyone in this chat. I feel like we told you everything there is to know.
That's true. We did basically just save. I mean, do we now owe damages to
I
the
told
filmmakers?
earlier today,
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, we watched so they didn't have to.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel.
I mean, I got away with not having to watch a second time. I was quite happy about that.
Only because you got distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe to an outsider, but I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. Hopefully, I don't think there'll ever be a UFO documentary out there though that's going to make everyone happy. So I mean, I don't know if the day will ever come, because you're either going to start from basics and tell the story because you're hoping that someone who has never had any interest is going to learn everything there, but then you're going to upset all the other people who are already in the UFO circle, and they're like, you told us this already. So it just seems like, what's the point? I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
that's a good place to end it there. I mean, what is
but before you guys go, I found a fantastic piece of evidence of alien interaction on Earth, and I want to get your opinion of it. Yes. Apparently, there's a doctor, and he writes books about his interaction with aliens from Saturn, and they gave him an alien artifact named a Nimbus. And this Nimbus allows him to vanish at will, kind of like Dr. Jonathan Reed's alien armband, but this one's different. And so he has recently been making the rounds on YouTube talk shows, and I want to get your opinion of this incredible footage that he has provided.
You said
ready?
Venus?
Saturn. I'm sorry. He's talking to aliens from Saturn. The aliens from Saturn gave him this alien artifact that lets him vanish at will, and he's provided incredible evidence of it. Are you ready?
You got to get your gaseous balls correct.
We're gonna watch it, and I want to know everybody and an opinion of everybody in the live chat. This is some serious evidence. Where do you see this? You ready? All right, here we go.
So
I'm trying to find this video, this YouTube, and share it.
And I mean, it was just in an office in West Virginia, and a student was visiting and had a video camera and took pictures of me, a motion picture of me, and that's it. So there's no props or anything like that.
But it was just for a little. It was just a little experiment or a little show, right? I mean, it was not for a specific person. It was just for a specific purpose. It was just for fun, right?
Yes, it was just for fun and just to
demonstrate how this.
To demonstrate the some of the concepts in the book, and that's it.
That's it. Okay, I'm fine. I'm going to find it and I'm going to share it now.
The second I saw the lasers, I was like, I have a few laser pointers, and that's what it is.
You know what that is? That's a laser LED DJ.
You can see his outline move on the wall when he's moving.
You can get that party light on Amazon for $20.
And the cut from it, I was like, and he had to put his little red hat on, his little like "Make it great again" hat. Show up on
We've reached the point of insanity where I've taken my glasses
That
off.
guy's selling books about contact with the aliens from Saturn, and that's his proof. And the woman really believed it that was interviewing him. That's what I found interesting. So,
Hey, really quickly, there was a comment, and wait, oh god, the chat moves so fast.
A magic pocket watch.
I can't fucking find it. Oh, from Robert, who was saying no one mentions that there were pretty harsh punishments from kids telling lies in that part of the world.
Right.
It would
I
not
saw
have been in their best interest to lie or exaggerate.
a good
And
point,
that's an
yeah.
interesting point.
That is a good point. Like, if they had been making it up, they would have faced repercussions, right? So
Here comes the believers to attack me. Watch the show. Well, no, I never said that the school kids are fake.
What?
We explored the whole thing and talked about it all. We were very
We all
fair.
agree that like the kids were cool. The kids were the first
the
part
first
was
interview, the kids,
believable.
they had seen something. Like, by the end of it, it's questionable how much they were led into what they were saying, but the fear behind their eyes is real, whether that's situational to what's going on with them there or what they're remembering from 2 months before. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not the kid.
Or
But
Cynthia staring at them
Yeah,
behind.
nobody.
John.
I
Right.
never said that the case is fake. I know we have a reputation for being very skeptical here, but the problem really lies in that every case that I look into, we find fakery, fraudery, and some form of bull. Usually, and this one, if you believe the children, they saw something extraordinary, and I can't say they didn't, and I don't have any good or valid alternate explanation for what they saw. So this
I'll be
one's
honest,
going to stay in my grape basket.
I discount everything past that first interview. For me, it's all about that initial reaction as a group to the person with the camera truthfully telling the story in the same place, basically where they saw it, as opposed to afterwards when it's all in the classroom, it's very clinical, and this Cynthia lady's there. The whole
Cameras
vibe,
come,
right? The whole
We
vibe
just don't like
changes.
Cynthia. It feels like.
I'm
Is that
biased
fair?
against Cynthia. I don't like her. She gave me the bad vibes, man.
She gave you Miss Trunchbull vibes. You're
Like
she
I
was
had to go meditate and like cleanse myself of that vibe. It was awful. I'm kidding.
I don't know what
It gives
I
me the
missed.
heebie-jeebies.
I don't know what I missed. You remember? So
What?
whatever you'd like to share, M. Yeckersley.
How far back do we have to go?
Yeah,
The chat moves
what
kind
did
of
you
fast. I
share?
read one comment earlier and I thought it was
There's like
good.
7,000 comments, man. Like,
We've shared 200 comments tonight. I sometimes miss people's comments, and I apologize for that.
God,
please don't get upset. It wasn't like I intentionally said we're not going to share anything this one chat user shared. I just missed whatever you said. Relax.
When that video first started, my first
Hey,
thought was
Steven.
that Enzo on the set.
Next time you start getting you're getting mad and you're building up and you're going on a rant, just remember, calm down.
That's like the worst thing you could ever say to someone.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Listen to yourself, my friend.
Yeah, and when
Only then will you find peace.
I learned early in my relationship, Brianna, not to ever tell my wife to relax. That was a bad. I never tell a woman to relax or calm down. It doesn't work. She's not going to just relax because you said relax.
I'll be honest.
No.
Your wife scares me, but
she scares me. She doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it's like giving Mario a mushroom and just powered up.
What? I'm sorry. I don't know how far back the person was talking about because I went pretty far back and I can't find any comments from them.
Christopher
We're trying to be
Hansen.
fair here.
There's
nice,
no need.
right?
I just want to say, there's no need to be getting ad hominem against your fellow humans in the chat. We're all here to
Yeah,
like,
so let's
learn.
please all just be respectful of each other.
not
and be
be-
nice. Yeah, like
The parent Kari's coming out. Don't make me come down there,
Don't forget, we're all here for fun and games, you know?
right?
fun
We're just
game.
exploring
And,
MILF Cambion. That's funny.
this is definitely my wife. She'll relax after she smacks the shit out of you first. She doesn't smack. She punches like a man, dude. She punches like a man, Brianna. My wife will punch me in the face if
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Usually the arm though. One time she bruised me real bad. She
think
punches
that
like a man.
I think if I ever punched my husband in the face, he'd divorce me.
No, she never punched me in the face. Not that I recall.
Your husband is fake, Bri. Don't lie.
That's right.
Yeah, we've never seen this man. I think she's
fake. No, it's an
Kari
actor.
has-
I've seen him, but
Kari
he's an
has-
actor. He's
So is
paid to be
Chad
there.
Smith from the Chad Smith podcast and Spooky Morales. And yeah, we'll just go with
Right
it.
on. All good
It's fine.
people. All the people.
I'm
who named
confused now. What I thought we were talking about Brianna's husband. That doesn't.
I'm
Oh,
saying
she's
I'm just naming my
that have seen.
witnesses.
Yes.
Oh, that have seen
husband.
him. Okay. Yeah, people have seen him in the real world, but he could have been an actor you hired to
Right,
go to
he's
that
an actor.
UFO conference with you.
I'm too poor. Oh, okay.
You are
Yeah.
now. You hired an actor.
I just to walk around with conferences with me.
Mass hysteria in African
My
boarding
husband,
schools.
Josh. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Good point, Patrick. Yeah. Yeah,
Husband.
and John Griffin says, Steve, I hope your wife ain't watching this. You got her down as a monster. No, man. Come on. You're going to get me in more trouble.
See, now the chat's comparing it to Mike Tyson, man. You've opened
hilarious.
Pandora's box here, and I think it's, I think me and Bri should just leave and let you deal with that.
She's more like a scary MMA fighter female, like she'll kick you, punch you, choke you out. Yeah.
Is that what you're into?
Sometimes. Let's not get personal here.
That's pretty
Come on,
hot.
man.
I like where this is going.
Sorry.
What else
We're wildly off topic, though.
Yes. Well, I think that we have done our due diligence. We have explored the film. We talked about the case. We've experienced Brianna's slides. We included Charlie Weiser, who's very skeptical of the case, and Charlie's thoughts on
Charlie
the whole show. And I'm still keeping it in my gray basket. And that's one of those cases where I just think to myself, I want to believe. And I have the poster to prove it.
Hey, do you know what's funny? I have a gray basket.
Well, you can put this
Make
case
little
in there.
Cambian doll.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll make one.
Okay. Sorry we missed your comments there, M. Yeckersley.
Thank you, Yeckersley.
And Brianna should be a guest more often, but
you should.
Yeah.
It means that I
you
get
need
to
research
get
to
the
be
night
done
off
that
and
you don't
Bri
feel
gets
like doing.
Honestly, I'm glad that we did tonight. I want to thank you both because tonight was sort of lighthearted and fun. And I've been up to my eyeballs in some very ugly things that I'm researching. And Kari knows some of the stuff that I'm dealing with. And you need that sometimes. You gotta step away from the crazy because there's some dark stuff that I'm working on for future shows. And it was good to be lighthearted and, have fun with the case. And this is one I can still keep this in my gray basket and not, one of those cases it doesn't have the big letdown because we don't get a definitive answer of what they really saw.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Right
all right. I guess I'm going to throw you folks out of here and then we're going to
end. No, I'm going to throw you out, Stephen.
Oh,
thank you for having
What are you going to do?
Thank you.
See? I'm
Thank
magic.
you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Super Serious Science Show. If you go down in the description, there is a link to mine and Bri's channel. It's called That One Time I Was Abducted by Aliens. We have a multitude of different kind of shows on there. You may like them, you may not. You may like us, you may hate us, but we're gonna entertain you either way. So please go down there and click it. I love you all. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you
I
guys.
thought we were...
And I'll talk to you soon. Good
He's
night.
back again. Who is this guy? I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
Brianna's got an imaginary husband to go bang right now.
Perfect timing. Gotta go. Thanks.
All right, friends. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I want to thank all of our kind and generous benefactors who help make this show possible. And by the way, we did read all of the super chats, but I'm going to check in. There's also other ways to throw money at us, including PayPal and Cash App, and you can Check in the description of this video for instructions on how to do that. If you're feeling generous, we're just going to check in with the PayPal. We do read every single PayPal. If you, it's asking me for crosswalks now. The security challenge. Yeah. We may have to do that another time. You friends will have to forgive me. PayPal is coming up with a security. Oh, no, it let me. Okay, there we go. Let's check in our activity here. We read and thank every single person who sends us a pledge by PayPal or Cash App, and we read all of the super chats. So, no, we're all caught up on that. I can remind you, you can also join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You get a bunch of extra content goodies, as well as a monthly show journal that's sort of a backstage pass, is what we're working on coming up, what's going on. You get early access in the Patreon. You can also become a channel member for as little as $5 a month. And with the channel membership on YouTube, you get all the Patreon links also get included in our members only section for members here on YouTube. Those are a few ways you can support us. The other way that you can support us, which is just as important, is to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos on your social media. It really does help us. And I also want to remind everybody that I hate putting things behind a paywall. So if you're a big fan of the show and you're having a difficult time, don't worry about the $1 or the $5. I would much rather include you. So just email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. And I don't need details. Just say I'd like to get the Patreon and member benefits, having a tough time or something like that. And we put you on a special email list and include you as well. And that would be my pleasure for big fans of the show. I know it's rough out there right now. We don't want to exclude people for lack of something as small as $1 or $5. And I also want to thank the Patreon supporters and the channel members who are okay with me doing that. You know, I was a little worried that doing that, some people might get upset, like, I'm paying you $5. Why should I, why should people get it for free? But people have been very supportive of our philosophy here, which is it's tough out there. Just send me an email. We'll include you in the fun extras as well. So any more comments or questions for me, please put them in the live chat. Jello Putin says, spot me another membership, Stephen. I'm broke. Well, I can't. That's kind of problematic for me to do that. Like, I don't even know how I would do that, or I would do it for you. But you can just email me, like I said, Jello Putin at truthseekershow@gmail.com. There's also several people here have bought people memberships and just given them out. So I appreciate people doing that as well. Just gave them out randomly in the live chat some nights. Very generous people here helping keep the show going. Mario's Taco says, you are awesome, Steve. Relax. You told me to relax. Oh, no. Yeah. So I will be back tomorrow for another show. But I have some complications because we plan to have a guest and do a live show tomorrow at 9 p.m. But the guest is very adamant that the software we use here won't work with their webcam and wants me to use Zoom. And so either I have to figure out how to pipe the Zoom into StreamYard, or I have to do that interview off air at 9 p.m. Whatever happens, there will be another show tomorrow. I want to thank all of you for the support. We have been increasing our output of content. You may notice that there is some additional extra production videos this week, and we don't usually do that many in a week. And we're also increasing our amount of live shows per week. Remember, for the summer, it was 2 or 3, usually 3, sometimes 2. I wanted to enjoy my summer with my children. I'm sure you all understand. And cabin time is very, very important to me. So we were on sort of a reduced schedule, but it's coming into fall, and a lot more people or stay inside and consuming more content. So it's a good time for us to amp up the amount of content we are putting out. You have my thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. I want to thank our special guests tonight, Brianna and Kari, from that one time I was abducted by aliens. And once again, I will remind you that the link to their channel is in the description of every video here, because Kari twisted my arm and made us do that. No, it's fine. I wanted to support them. After all, Kari does a lot for our show here, and this show wouldn't exist without Kari. So that the least we can do is support the other efforts underway by Spooky and friends, Brianna and Jamie, the Crystal Hippie bitches. And if you like our content here, you will like the content there. They do a lot of looking at videos and trying to figure out what the videos are, if they're a true UFO or other things. They've got a Cryptid Corner channel and other. It's just a fun show. Check it out. Subscribe to them. You'll be glad that you did. Yeah. So we're going to bounce on out of here. We will be back. We will return tomorrow. Depending on this situation with the guest and the Zoom and all, I may just do an afternoon show, and I will record the interview and do the interview, just upload the interview Friday or at another time. I don't know. We have to figure that out, I suppose. But really important for me to get this interview. I'm not going to announce who it is, but you'll be surprised who it is. But I wanted to do this because I think sometimes in life there are teachable moments, and there are moments in life when you can step in and sort of at least try to correct somebody that's on a really wrong path. I don't know. I believe in a road to redemption for everybody, but sometimes things look terrible, and that I don't know what else I could say about that situation. It's a weird one, and we'll have more on that. I'll be finishing that interview and uploading it as soon as possible. Also working on a very big story that involves many people in the UFO community. That's pretty shocking and dark, and really it's a compelling but really sad story. And we'll have that done hopefully in the next week or so, which should premiere next week. I thought that story so important that I wanted to do it all off air so that we could edit it and make the story do all the things that it needs. There's a lot of evidence involved in screenshots and messages between people and things like that. It's kind of complicated. So we're hammering away here. I will return tomorrow sometime. I will try to post when that is as early as possible. And that's all we got for you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did these children really see an alien spacecraft and aliens, or was it something else? Do you believe the skeptics who say that maybe the children embellished or were just telling stories? Or do you believe the children that they saw some otherworldly creatures? Let us know what you think in the comments. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.